Oh, this is thing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the FPL Banger Show. This is the Gameweek 3 preview. My name is Siva, and I'm joined by Sam. How's it going, Sam?
It's been good. Life has been good. FPL, not so much. Those of you who follow us will know well, you won't know because we don't post about it, but I had an absolute, worst case possible, Murphy's Law, whatever. When it rained, it pours kind of game week. But yeah, other than that, it's been good.
Yeah, I'll summarize your game week, Sam, because I don't think I want to waste. Yeah, I mean, we try to make this show about your teams, not ours. So I had a very boring template score, and Sam had a slightly less template score because he didn't have Jesus, but he had Darwin Nunez. So, I mean, not much.
I took a -8 for Darwin Nunez, took out KDB, took out Kane. Yeah, not the best week, I guess. But, there's still 36 more weeks to make up for it, so not panicking.
Yeah, and you shouldn't. I mean, I had 70, and my lead over you is less than 30 points. I mean, at this stage, it really doesn't matter. So I think no point stressing about it. I think you look forward. And I don't think you can plan for Darwin Nunez losing his cool and headbutting someone. 15 minutes before that, he should have scored. So
exactly. I'll tell you what, though. It's really fun. Like, being in this situation, it's kind of fun. I'm like, oh, okay, now what do I need to do to make it back? Kind of thing. Bringing excitement into FPL life again. Okay, let's forget about my team. Let's move on.
All right, so questions. And the big question. Sam, to be fair, something that you did predict and you sort of tried to plan for was Leon Bailey losing his place. All right, you benched him in your team. We had this argument and I started him. And he didn't start. Jared benched him and he only came on for the last 13 minutes. And his place is at risk. So we had questions here from Fly Me to Tokyo, Cyrus, Bailey Replacements. So I've just scribbled down some names. I looked at who I would think would be the most who would come first to mind, right? So at 6.5 million, I had Martinelli, Rodrigo, 6 million. So Pascal Gross is now up to 5.6. 5.5, you have Neto, Podence, Joe Aribo, who I'll talk about later, Gordon, Gray, and then you come down to 5 million, you have Dewsbury Hall, 4.6, you have Josh De Silva. So maybe start off, Sam. You don't really need to replace Leon Bailey in your team with the way you're set up, but if you had to, who would you go for?
Well, of course, if you don't already have Martinelli and you have the funds to get Martinelli, I think he's the standout option below 6.5, right?
Yeah.
I really like Rodrigo, though. I really do. He actually had a really good preseason, someone I had my eye on, and he transferred it. So he already has scored 1 goal in his first game, 2 goals last in Gameweek 2. On top of that, the underlying stats for Gameweek 2 is insane. Like, he had 1.2 XG in one Gameweek, which is pretty incredible. I don't know, it seems like he finally found a coach who knows how to play him, right? Because he was a striker, he came. Bielsa somehow, for some reason, kept playing him in the midfield. I don't know, looks good. I like Rodrigo. I also like Jack Harrison, who you did not write his name down, but he also looks pretty good. I think it's 0.1 cheaper than Rodrigo right now. But yeah, those two options look good to me.
Yeah. I think Rodrigo's
I'm also keen on...
Sorry, Sam, just to butt in, right? Rodrigo's actually, the reason why it's really high, I did watch the highlights, it's because his goal against Southampton, his second goal, is a header on the goal line. So I think that's like 0.9 XG just from that alone. It was already going in and he just, wanted to get the goal. So just to explain that. That may be why, but I mean, it's still a good sign, right?
Yeah, still looks good. Skating into dangerous positions, which is what you want. Below him, I think Southampton still has bad fixtures, so can't really look at Aribo. I don't really like any of the 5.5 options. Wolves just can't seem to attack continuation from last year. So I think like below Martinelli, Rodrigo, Harrison, I would go all the way down to Dewsbury Hall if you really want to feel that 5.0 kind of bracket. And if not, might as well just go all the way down to Josh Da Silva, who I did shout out as being a really good 4.5 option. I'm just going to throw that in there. Because he is a creative player, wrongly priced. So I like Josh Da Silva. Of course, don't expect him to score every game, from now until the end of season. But for the price you pay, he's really good. Definitely worth the money, I think.
Yeah. But Sam, I mean, yes, okay, I was really excited about Joe Aribo. I'll tell you why I put him in there. It's because his fixtures are deceptively bad. He plays Chelsea in Game Week 5, so that's not good. But apart from that, he has really good fixtures because Saints' next two fixtures are Leicester, who've conceded 6 goals so far, and Man United, who are going to get relegated. So, very easy fixtures for Aribo. You look at FDR ratings and you think, oh, a lot of red fixtures. Actually, it's really not. He scored after coming on against Leeds. He was, I think, very silly of Saints not to start him. And I think Hassan Hutel realized the mistake and he changed the formation as the game progressed. So I expect him to start. He did start Game Week 1. So I'd expect him to start in Game Week 3. He's 5.5. If you're talking about wrongly priced, Sam, he's definitely wrongly priced because he's not a 5.5 million mid. If anything, he's probably a 6 million striker. He's playing second striker most times or in a cam role. The composure on his finish for the goal was really good. He was really good for Rangers last year as well. He didn't start off as a striker. He was a midfielder, but then pushed forward because of injuries, and he's adapted really well. I think Joe Aribo, as the season progresses, you're definitely going to want him. Beyond that, yeah, Martinelli, no brainer, get Martinelli. I'm not going to go anywhere near Anthony Gordon because Chelsea apparently want to spend 50 million on him. I don't want to spend 5 million on him in FPL, but they want to spend 50. And I think for Gray as well, I love Damari Gray. We had him last season, but I don't think that Everton attack is very good. I thought Villa made them look good. I don't think it's a very good attack. I think they struggle without DCL, and unless he's fully fit, I wouldn't go near them.
Yeah, without DCL, without Richarlison, and they replaced Richarlison with what's his name, Dwight McNeil.
Yeah.
Not the best replacement. There is one 5.5 player which I really like, Eberechi Easy. So I think in Game Week 1 he did look kind of dangerous. Game Week 2 he played that really nice pass for Zaha. He's been, I don't know, he looks really good, I think. Maybe not a goal scorer, more of an assister, but at 5.5, you can't ask too much, right? I like how he looks. Palace has pretty good fixtures except for City in Game Week 4. But if you can navigate through that after that, it looks good for them. And they definitely look good, Palace, their attack it flows so well, right? And this, I think Michael Olise is not back yet. So, once Olise, Easy, Zaha up front, that is a scary attack.
Yeah, I think Eze, right? He's always been a decent option. I think his issue has been injuries. So, yeah, if he's fit. I think the issue... Sorry, Sam, you're going to say something.
No. Continue, Siva.
Oh, you're just doing your thinking face. Yeah, I mean, the issue I have with all these mids, right, is they're all, bar Martinelli and I think Rodrigo, they're all kind of punts. Or in Pascal Gross's case, it's whether he holds that position because he was in and out of the team last season. And that sort of brings me to the next question. And I wonder whether people who have Leon Bailey might just look at a structural change. And it depends, it's very team dependent. It depends how easily you can get there. But we had a question here from Nano Africa. Ramsdale, Robbo and Bailey out for Sanchez, Arsenal defender and 8 million mid. And that got me thinking, right? Because I have Leon Bailey and I've been starting him and I need to replace him this week because I don't feel comfortable playing Andres Pereira, especially because he has a knock. So that got me thinking, why not use this opportunity? Most of us, not all of us, but most of us have 2 free transfers or a wild card if needed. Why not structurally change the team and add a defender, subtract a midfielder? Now, very team dependent, I know, but this points for players under 6.5 million so far, right? That's on the screen right now. Rodrigo's top at 22. And you go down all the way, you have Podence at 12. I think if you look at this list, the majority of people who would expect to maintain these returns where it's sustainable are the defenders, right? You look at somebody like Reece James, 14 points, Kieran Trippier, 14, RK, 13, Koulibaly, 13, Diaz, 12, back-to-back clean sheets. You look at the midfielders, and I feel their points are far more unsustainable. I don't think Jensen is going to score a lot this season at 15 points. Xhaka is definitely not going to score a lot. Da Silva has had 2 shots and scored 2 goals. So I think it's hard to maintain. Jorginho needs pens. And Dewsbury Hall has, again, 1 shot so far. So I think if you're talking about structure-wise, I feel like the 5 million defenders are a lot more sustainable for points compared to the 5.5 and 6 million mids.
I completely agree, which is why I did my transfers last week, because I did not want Bailey as a starter. Now, it didn't work out for me, but the idea is the same, that, there's no really good starters below 6.0 in mids, right? And even at 6.0, 6.5, Rodrigo, I don't know how long he can hold it on. He looks good right now, but Leeds as a whole are kind of chaotic. Maybe the play is to move your funds around and upgrade one of your defenders, especially now with, you have quite a lot of 5.0 defenders who are very viable, right? You have, Siva has it on screen right now. You want to go through it, Siva?
Yeah, so this is predicted points from FPL Review, and I just took a comparison of 6 million under mids versus 5.5 and under defenders. And the reason why there's a price difference is because you have 4 million defenders, you don't have 4 million mids. So I subtracted 0.5. And as Sam was coming to it, 5 million defenders, right? This is projected points over the next 5 weeks. Cucurella is top. Koulibaly, RK, Walker, Gabriel, Thiago, Perisic, Dyer, Dunk, Zinchenko. And there are more options beyond that. Whereas if you look at mids, the highest is Gross. And yes, predicted points, so no guarantees. But Gross would come somewhere at the bottom of the list for defenders that we just mentioned.
Yeah, so I agree. If you can, maybe just bench Bailey and make a change in your defense, or if you need the funds, however you may find it, but perhaps the play is to not use a midfielder in that price range as your first team, Keep them on the bench and play one of your defenders.
Yeah. So, for instance, for my team, right, and that's why I said really team dependent. You may not have the structure for this, but I'm going to use a -4 basically to remove Robertson, which I don't want to do, but I'm going to do it because it enables me to get Cucurella and maybe Walker or Perisic. We'll see how it goes. And I get to upgrade Bailey to Diaz, which instantly, I think, cures me of that sort of, I don't want to sit here and compare Demarai Gray and Anthony Gordon, okay, no offense. Like, I'd much rather go, and I think with guys like Cucurella, they may not be nailed every week, but if he does lose his spot, there's so many more 4.5 and 4 million defenders I'd consider. Veltman, Dunk, can go down even to Neco Williams. Whereas 5.5 million mids, and this is the issue we're having with Bailey, right? After T got dropped, I don't really want to go to Neto, or it's just much harder to predict their points. So I think, we're laboring the point, but basically I think if you can switch to defenders, I think 5 at the back is still really optimal.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, I'm glad we agreed. So Sam, we didn't really finish that point, but a lot of people want to know what to do with Robertson, right? And for them, it's for a lot of people, not you maybe, because your setup, you have Darwin Nunez, and we'll come to Darwin replacements later. But if you had to choose between Robertson and Diaz at this stage, bearing in mind that sort of movement and structure, would you see the logic in getting rid of Robertson?
If you have double Liverpool defense, Trent and Robbo, then yes, I think they just don't look very stable at the back right now. You may not want to double up. In fact, maybe double up on City, get a Chelsea defender if you don't already have something like that. I'm pretty sure Perisic will start next week, so if you're really brave, you can go for him. He did get an assist this week, and Sessegnon didn't play so well, so yeah, but basically I think double Liverpool defense is not the way to go right now.
Yeah, I think the fact that they had to rely on Nat Phillips this week really cost them. No offense, he's not a bad defender, but he was at fault for the first goal, in my opinion anyway, because he was marking Zaha. And I think the number of injuries Liverpool has concerns me, right? They have a lot of first teamers out, and even though the squad is really good, right? I think the fact that they have so many injuries compared to City and Chelsea, who both seem to have really strong squads. Like, okay, we've got City's XG on the screen right now, and this is City against Bournemouth. Same thing as against West Ham. They didn't give any chances up. It's almost guaranteed clean sheets. And we had one more question from, I think it's Jay Mira, asking whether he should move Son to KDB. So since you had KDB at the start of the season, how do you feel about KDB, given the fact that his goal, yes, his goal against Bournemouth is amazing. I thought that first goal against Bournemouth was bloody brilliant, right? So would you swap Son to KDB, and just general thoughts on both Son and KDB?
I wouldn't, actually. Now, Son did have a bad game, but it's more, like we did mention earlier, Reece James playing right centre-back, kind of marking him out of the match. They kept his pace to keep Son out of the game, so I think just tactically, he couldn't do anything, right? But Son still remains the biggest goal threat for Spurs, and they have good run of fixtures coming up. So I will keep Son. As for KDB though, I still kind of stand by what I said in Gameweek 1, that he will probably get loads of assists because that's what KDB does, but not necessarily get as many goals. Yes, he did score this week, but there was like some crazy outside boot wonder shot, right? And a lot have been made about Haaland having, 6 touches in the entire game or something like that.
Yeah.
Some insignificant number. But I think Pep was not happy with that at all. He was not happy that his midfielders were not finding KDB. In fact, he took Foden out at halftime, despite Foden scoring a goal, right? Just simply because Foden did not pass to Haaland when Haaland was open. You know, there was one sequence of play, and I think Pep actually addressed it in post-match. You know, he said Foden should have made that pass, and he actually addressed it. He said maybe they're too used to playing with a false nine, but it's something they will have to adapt and change now that we have a proper striker. Previously, with a false nine, maybe no one would be there at the far post, but now he will always be there. So clearly, you can see Pep is trying to change the mentality of players to pass to Haaland, get the ball to Haaland. And throughout the match, actually, Haaland made some pretty good runs where if they found him, he probably would have scored or at least have a big chance on goal, you know. I don't know why they just were not finding him as much as they did in Gameweek 1. But I think as Pep does his thing, it will start to, change. And then KDB's goal threat may be not as much anymore. Although I may just eat my words like I did this week. So listen at your own peril, I guess.
It's very hard to predict because you're trying to predict something that I don't think even Pep knows how it's going to work out. No one really knows, right? It's a developing situation. He's trying to figure out how to work Haaland in and get the most out of him. So none of us really know how this is going to end up. So I think if you have KDB, keep. But like you say, Son is probably the safer bet now because you know what you're getting. And Spurs fixtures, regardless of the performance against Chelsea, Spurs fixtures going forward are really good. So they're going to play Fulham and Forest before Game Week 6. So I think that's probably what you go for, the non-quantity first. And then when you've seen how KDB and Haaland sort of work together after a few games, you can make an educated decision of who you're going with. Let's talk about Chelsea Spurs for a bit, because I'm sure you also watched it. I thought Chelsea, even though they didn't create a lot, controlled like 75% of the game. And it's only at the end when it started getting chaotic.
Yeah, I thought Chelsea looked pretty impressive in the game. They definitely had the upper hand on Spurs. Now, it's just the nature of the game, it's a derby and everything and the history, so it got a bit chaotic. So naturally, can't really expect clean sheets for Chelsea in a game like that. But going forward, I think they look really good. I think Reece James, he started as right centre back, which was a lot of people's worry. But in the end, he got forward. He got the goal, which was great. Cucurella, like we mentioned earlier, looked really good, and I really think that I think that he's nailed. It's just that kind of like Reece James, he will be between the left wing back and left centre back, because he did play left centre back quite a lot for Brighton too. So that versatility, can come in useful. It's only 5.0, so really cheap. Yeah, I like Chelsea's defense. I'm just gonna point out because their attack still looks like it's going nowhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, Chelsea defenders look good.
Yeah, the attack is still hopeless. Kai Havertz, I don't care. People keep telling me Kai Havertz is a really good footballer and he does so many things with the team. He's Emil Heskey, for the modern day, right? He doesn't score goals. He's so ineffective in front of goal. James put a cross on the plate for him and he misses it point blank range. Honestly, yeah. So their attack is still very suspect. But Reece James, right? Yeah, I was really annoyed to see him at centre back because he was so good at it as well. He marked Son out of the game. But then on 73 minutes, they bring on Azpilicueta. James goes to right wing back. 77 minutes, he scores a goal. It didn't take him long at all. And his finish was everything that Havertz doesn't do. He just put his foot through it. So much confidence. And to add to the Reece James propaganda, right? They play Leeds this week. And Leeds, as you can see on the screen, no left back. And Leeds, coincidentally, conceding the equaliser against Southampton. Goal comes from the right wing back, Kyle Walker-Peters. He's way up the pitch. He's exactly where Reece James would expect to be. So, yeah, no guarantees. It may not happen again. But I think Leeds seem to have a lot of defensive issues, especially on the flanks, both sides. Even on the right flank where they've got a new guy, Rasmus Christensen, they seem to be conceding a lot of chances there. That's where Southampton's first goal came from. So I think definitely Leeds team to target and Reece James. No-brainer for me.
Yep, he looks good. Going back to the Chelsea Spurs game though, I just want to say that a lot of people have concerns about Kulusevski and the fact that they bought Richarlison, but I think the game is kind of confirmation that Richarlison is not there to replace Kulu because he ended up replacing Son, right? And a lot of Spurs fans has already said that he will probably keep Kulu because he's left-footed, whereas Richarlison is right-footed. Yeah, so, Richardson stayed on for the game. Kulusevski stayed on for the game. So I think he is a pretty safe shot now at 8, if you're looking for an 8 million midfielder.
Yeah, Kulu played 90, so I don't think I'd be worried at all. And if anything, the fact that Kulu plays on the right, I think if you go back and watch Leeds Wolves, you'll notice again, Ait Nouri had a really poor game for Wolves at left back. And he's still starting. And of course, there are fans who are asking for him to be replaced, move Johnny over and move Semedo in. But as long as Ait Nouri plays, the issue is he's really good going forward, but he has some issues in defending. So I think Kulusevski is an easy hold. You shouldn't judge him on this game week. Chelsea is a different caliber of opponent.
Yep. Okay, what's next, Siva?
Darwin replacements. So this is something you can advise on, Sam, because I don't have Darwin, and so sad. I spent all weekend drawing up plans to get Darwin, and one moment of madness. But we have a question here from Till798. Really need a Darwin alternative. Bought him in game week 2. Been eyeing Tony for now. Okay, Sam, I have a lot of strong feelings about Ivan Tony, but I will first let you discuss since you actually need to replace Darwin.
Well, the pickings are really slim, actually. Below Darwin, all you have is Gabriel Jesus, which 75% of FPL players already owned. I'm assuming most listeners of this podcast are part of them. And then below that, all you have is Tony. You have Callum Wilson, but Callum Wilson's Newcastle's about to have quite a tough run of games. They're going to play City in Game Week 3 and Liverpool in Game Week 5. After that, they're good. So I don't think you would jump on Callum Wilson right now. And then that's all you got. You got Tony, you got... If you're really brave, Brian Mbeumo actually has the highest XG in Brentford's squad. Last year, he had really good underlying stats, but he kept hitting the post, right? Some kind of sick crossbar challenge. I think he hit the post like 7 times or something like that, right? So, but he has the highest XG in the squad. Has taken the most shots in the squad as well with 4. Granted, they've played United, which is like playing a championship team, so I guess it's a bit inflated. But yeah, Brian Mbeumo does look like the main goal threat, whereas Tony tends to set up, so his XA is really high, I think...
Yeah, his XA is 0.66 per 90, which is probably... Actually, no, it is the highest really amongst all forwards.
But again, they did play United, so, everything's inflated. So, Tony, he's nailed, right? But I kind of like Mbeumo as a sneaky sneaky shot punt. Other than that, I don't see any other strikers below that's worth getting in.
Yeah. It's a horrible list. And the funny thing about Ivan Toney, right, talking about United, I feel if we did this list last week, if you're answering this question, we'd have said Danny Welbeck, and he also played United. And I wonder if there's... I'm not joking. I wonder if we need to sort of adjust our stats for, like, you've played United, so therefore we need to weight all their stats down a bit. Because all these guys who played United look really good, but there's no guarantee that they're going to look good the following week. For Toney, I look, for me, we've got it on the screen now. His XG is just this. I had this issue last season because I owned Toney at the start of last season, and his XA has always been good. He really works hard for the team, but his XG is really, really low. It's 0.1 per 90, and he's played every minute of every game so far. Yes, sample size small, but I remember this last season and his XG was low then. It got better when Eriksen arrived, and I do think the fact that Eriksen is not there means Toney does bear a larger share of the creative role in the team. And I think for a striker, you kind of want goals. XA is good, but XA is heavily reliant on finishing. So that means you're relying on Brian Mbomo's finishing, which is neither here nor there. And if that's the case, you might as well just get Mbomo. I feel penalties alone don't make Toney... Let's put it this way. If Toney hadn't got a penalty in Gameweek 1, I don't think we'd be discussing him as an option right now. His XG is really low. I'm talking like 0.1 is below the likes of James. It's below midfielders. It's less than Joe Linton. Okay, just it's really low. So I feel like if you're gonna spend money on a Darwin replacement, I think you look for somebody more reliable than Toney. In my opinion, I think if you've got all the main guys, I would honestly go to somebody like Taiwo Awoniyi, who at least I think Forest look really good, and I think Everton are kind of open, and I think they can get at them. Or you move the money to midfield or defense for me. I don't think forcing yourself to get Ivan Toney just because of structure is a good idea.
Yeah, I agree. All depends on your team, how many strikers you have, blah blah blah. But it really doesn't look good at all for forwards right now.
Yeah.
Watkins, I'm not convinced on Watkins. Are you?
I'm not convinced on any Villa player because this man. I mean, there's a one of our friends at the pod posted. I think it's Move FPL, and he posted this GIF of Lampard's formation tactics, right? And it's just 4-4-2, lose game, 4-3-3, lose game, back to 4-4-2, and that's basically. Gerrard doesn't have any.
Gerrard, right?
Yeah, Gerrard. Sorry, I just say Lampard. I mean Gerrard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Watkins is nailed until they lose a game, at which point he'll go back to the 4-3-3. And yeah, I don't think Watkins is the guy you get. And same issue, he's going to split returns with Danny Ings. This is why strikers, actually, the choice isn't that great. So if you're not going for somebody like Awoniyi, I would think Mitrovic, also not a bad shot. Solanke, these are talisman, nailed, and goal scorers, which I think Toney, while Eriksen's not in the team, I feel Toney is less of a goal scorer in this team.
Agreed. But yeah, I think the advice would be to move the funds to somewhere else, midfield or defense.
Honestly, I think Mitrovic, if he had scored that penalty this week, would have been the default pick. And I think people follow points, maybe too much FPL points, right? If Mitrovic had scored that pen, I guarantee you he'd be the popular pick right now because he's playing Brentford next, and Brentford, gotta ignore the United game. They have an issue dealing with set pieces, which they did against Leicester. We really have to ignore United games. And Brentford's still missing Pinnock, missing Christopher Ayer. So I think at set pieces, somebody like Mitrovic can definitely get at them. So yeah, for me, Mitrovic 6.5, nail, talisman. I think that is probably where I'd be more comfortable if you're going to spend money there. We're at Captaincy, Sam. This feels like a very relaxed pod in that sense. Not that many issues, but Captaincy this week, right? There are a few options. Salah against United. Kane and Son against Wolves, Haaland v Newcastle, Jesus v Bournemouth. There are other options. James is against Leeds, for instance. Who are you looking at here?
Salah versus United doesn't get, and there's no easier fixture than this right now. I see United fans who had given up hope on the weekend are starting to sort of, maybe we'll beat them. They look bad too. And the United hope is creeping back in. Is that happening to you? No. I didn't have... So, during preseason, a lot of United fans were, we look really good. This is our year of coming back. I had zero hope on them. I knew this was coming. I told everyone who would listen not to get any United players in. And yeah, I'm definitely captaining Salah against United. Like, there's nothing in the world that will convince me against it.
Jesus, we Bournemouth though, man. Jesus, 19 points. Gabriel Jesus.
It was just a fluke.
He had a lot of chances, mate. I mean,
I'm only saying that because I don't have Jesus, okay?
yeah, but I mean, genuinely, do you think Salah outscores Jesus? I think the concern here is perhaps Bournemouth will play with a lower block and be a lot more defensively disciplined compared to how Leicester were. So maybe that's why Jesus doesn't outscore Salah.
I think United are just shambolic, and Liverpool, after not winning 2 games in a row, they're gonna, and they have confidence because they trashed United in both games last year. So I think we're looking at a big score here. I think I'm going Salah. Anyway.
Okay. And do you really think that United don't fix any of the issues? Do they change the setup? Because we didn't really speak about United Brentford in detail. I think it's been analysed everywhere. But I was surprised that it does seem like as if Ten Hag doesn't, like, a lot of people don't want to criticize him, but it seems like as if he doesn't know a lot of the weaknesses of this team. Like, I am quite surprised that David De Gea is being asked to play out from the back. I'm surprised that Dalot is still starting because he can't defend. A lot of issues. I don't know why Eriksen's playing as a defensive midfielder effectively. So does he resolve those issues by the weekend, or you think he just tries them again and just hopes for the best?
I think he's actually came up, in interviews. Of course, they can do stuff that is opposite of what they say, right? But what he said is that he's going to stick to his tactics. It's not the tactics' fault, it's the players, basically. That's what he's saying. The only way to fix it is to sell the entire squad, Siva. And I don't think we'll do that by Gameweek 3. So, more of the same, I think. He may change some stuff around, right? Like maybe he drops Shaw for Malaysia or whatever. Move some players around, but the players are still the same. Majority of the squad are still the same. We're still going to be bad. So, I don't see anything changing for United.
Yeah, I don't either. I want to believe that at some point this ends, but it does feel like as if it's just a cycle and they can't get out of it. I'm not sure how it ends because they don't seem to want to buy anybody either. They don't seem able to get anybody in as well. And I don't know, that first 25 minutes against Brentford was I've never seen anything like it. I'm an Arsenal fan and I've seen some pretty bad losses, but I've never seen something as bad as that. Like it's some sort of horror show that just wouldn't end. And he looks, I don't know, maybe we're just judging him, but Ten Hag looks like this is almost like too much for him, right? You just watch him on the sideline and he just, Thomas Frank started bringing out his whiteboard and he had all these tactics at 4-0 and Ten Hag he really just looked like the moment the situation was just too much for him.
I think it's just the players not following his instructions, not doing the basic stuff properly, like passing to an open player, making passes to players who are already marked and then conceding from it. Like, there's no coach that can fix that, you know what I mean? The players are making this kind of individual mistakes, nothing he can do. But anyway, not here to discuss United detail, or else we're going to be another United stand. So, yeah, Salah against United will be my pick. Haaland against Newcastle is tricky because Newcastle actually has been really... they've been solid, but at the same time, they've been conceding chances. So it could go either way, you know what I mean? Yeah. They were kind of lucky to keep the clean sheets, but at the same time, they kind of controlled the game. I don't know. I don't know how to look at it. Could go either way. So I think Salah against United, that would be that's the only option to me.
Yeah. I'm comfortable with Salah. Even though I have Jesus and Haaland, I like the idea of going Salah against United. I think you target United while they're still in flux and you just see how it goes. And to be fair, I think Salah will likely be the popular captain, although we don't try to decide stuff on EO. So I think it's a safe enough pick. And like you say, Liverpool really need a result. And I think Firmino coming in means that Salah and Diaz have to sort of play a bit more centrally because Firmino by definition is going to be a bit more withdrawn. So that should mean hopefully more direct opportunities for Salah.
All right. So I guess we are
Yeah, we're done.
unanimously decided. It's not fun. It's not fun when we agree on the same captain.
No, it's not. I mean, I'd love to give you some. Somebody asked me, why aren't you captaining Reece James? You know, Leeds is a really good fixture. But there's no need to. I mean, sometimes if the pick is good, the pick is good. You don't. The fact that it's boring isn't really a reason to go against it, I think.
Yep, I agree.
I guess that's us done. So, anything else from you, Sam?
No, that's it. That's it. So, get those green arrows, guys.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Oh,